In Movies and Money, shares of AMC ramped up into the opening weekend of Taylor Swift's The Eras Tour. And in a classic move, this happens all the time, so it's no surprise, those shares are now trending lower now that the event is in play. Let's bring in our movie man, Erik Childress. He's a film critic and founder of the Movie Madness podcast. Good to have you with us. The Taylor Swift concert film easily stole the show at the box office over the weekend, but were the numbers overplayed?
Remember the headlines? Biggest pre-sales in the history of Fandango after just 3 hours. Films moved off Taylor's release date. Advanced sales were in excess of 100 million. Well, either many had bought tickets for later than opening weekend, or the numbers were a bit exaggerated or misreported.
This weekend is a big one for Martin Scorsese fans as his long-awaited Killers of the Flower Moon opens up. Here's another clip of that true American story.
Well, we mix these families together, and that estate money flows the right direction. It'll come to us.
Shomikasi. That's how you are.
I don't know what you said, but it must have been Indian for handsome devil.
You screened this film for us. What's your review?
Yeah, Scorsese's long-awaited epic focuses on the horrific murders that took place in Oklahoma in the early 1920s involving the Osage community. Once they were awarded head rights to the oil found on their land, a plot was hatched to snatch them away at all costs. Robert De Niro plays the cattleman and mastermind of the plot, and Leonardo DiCaprio plays his nephew, who gets involved in the scheme by marrying a local woman played by the great Lily Gladstone. Now, this is a sprawling film that extends to nearly 3.5 hours, and at times you can really feel its length. That was not something I said during Scorsese's last film, The Irishman, but I felt there were scenes in this that went on longer than needed, and others that repeated ideas and information we already had. I also felt the film spent a lot more time focusing on the schemers and the incoming FBI investigators than on the Osage people themselves. In retrospect, early scenes with them felt like the reported additions when Scorsese and company realized how little focus they initially had for them. Now, all that being said, though, the film is still a necessary story that is often gripping and evolves into an early version of a white-collar gangster film with a unique coda that has such a devastating sadness to it. It's a reminder how when we in this country allow evil to permeate in plain sight, that it will only grow through the generations. So it's definitely worth seeing, and even with a long running time, should draw substantial interest this weekend given all the talent involved. If Taylor Swift does have a historic drop, then it's possible Scorsese and DiCaprio could take the lead. Otherwise, it will play second fiddle to her legion of fans.
Killers of the Flower Moon is available in theaters only, but what are your movie star picks for this weekend, Erik, with some Scorsese streamers?
Well, apart from Scorsese's latest in theaters, which should be part of your list, there is a documentary on Amazon Prime called Silver Dollar Road, which actually makes for a good companion piece for Flower Moon. It is about a black family in North Carolina that has owned a piece of property for decades and the methods that local government and land developers tried to deprive them of their ownership rights. It's an infuriating film that reminds us how powerful men have continued to harass and steal from everyday families and rightful heirs. Then if you want to follow that up with some more Martin Scorsese, many of his films are available for streaming. Since we are in the month of Halloween, I would certainly recommend Shutter Island, his horror tale with Leonardo DiCaprio investigating the spooky goings-on of a psychiatric hospital. It is available on Apple Plus and Paramount Plus, along with The King of Comedy, one of the master's most slept-on films, to use his TikTok words. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. If you have these subscriptions, you can see Casino, The Aviator, Silence, The Color of Money, The Wolf of Wall Street, Hugo, The Age of Innocence, Raging Bull, Gangs of New York, and The Irishman. That should make for one great movie weekend.
Terrific. Thank you, Erik.
Thank you, Angie.
Go to businessfirstam.com for where to see our show on TV.